as people fill in, we will move forward. So let's start.
Thank you for your patience.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, let's start with the word of prayer. Okay, so we are going to discuss faith in AI. So we're going to pray very quickly, just thanking you, Father God, for this opportunity to learn together, to discern. We know that all perfect things come from you. That means all tools that are at our disposal, old tools and new tools. We're asking you to give us the wisdom. We're asking you to help us maintain a justice-oriented posture as we talk about this very important topic that can be a bit sensitive. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
All right, so my name is Ajua Ray, and I am a nonprofit executive. I live in D.C., Washington, D.C. Actually, I'm in Alexandria now. I am a justice-oriented worker. I am in the community doing the work. I have worked for several nonprofits, faith-based advocacy organizations. I've worked on Capitol Hill for my member of Congress for several years. So I come with a policy background and a focus on technology. So we are going to talk about AI and faith. So I wrote an article for SCLC in the spring, and it was called AI and Christian Faith, Navigating the Ethical and Spiritual Applications. And I wanted to talk a little bit about it, a little bit more about it with you today. So before I start, I'm going to share a simple AI experience for me. So I just came back from spending time in the spring at Oxford, where I did an advanced program in AI. And even though I have been studying AI, every time I think about it, I realize another way that I actually use AI in my day-to-day activities. I mean, it's really kind of crazy, but in a good way for me. The most recent experience that I've been reflecting on is Netflix. I love Netflix. I watch movies whenever I have free time. And I started to notice that without me even choosing or looking for a movie or a show, the algorithm was suggesting things for me. And I'm like, this is kind of interesting. And they were actually shows that I am very interested in. So it took all the work off of me. I no longer had to search for different, genres or topics. It just kind of did it all for me. That is an example of AI, and we see that everywhere. How many of you use Siri or Alexa? How many of you you use maps when you're traveling for directions? AI has infiltrated all aspects of our society, and most people don't even realize how accessible and how much we actually access it, how much good it does, and of course there are risks as well. So, a show of hands, how many have interacted with AI today? Yeah? Do you mind sharing how?
I'm just using ChatGPT every day, just to kind of work on like a sales script for my business.
All right. I love it. I love it. How about you, ma'am? ChatGPT.
Because I do a lot of crafting and so I use ChatGPT to help y'all get posts to draw people to my platform.
I do the same thing. Awesome. I saw some hands over here. How did you use AI today?
Just doing a Google search.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Anybody social media user? Oh, yes, go ahead.
I used ChatGPT this morning for a quick script for video for certain things. ChatGPT then went to Perplexity and asked it to do that same thing, but show me uncopyrighted photos.
Oh, very useful. Very useful. Thank you, Rick.
Just turning off my lights at home.
Yep.
Part of it. And, GPS.
Yeah.
So
Same.
When I start the car with the phone, I'm using AI.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Yes. It is everywhere. Has anybody checked any social media accounts today? Okay, so there's AI all through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the friend suggestions that you see, all the reels that you see and the memes that pop up. They are tailored to your desires because you use that platform so much that the algorithm starts to get to know you. They get to know your habits. And have you noticed you start seeing things after a while that actually is interesting? At first, it's like, I don't like this. Why am I seeing this?
Right.
When you pass that one by, but you see another one and you click on it, AI is saying, you know what? He likes this. She likes this. I'm going to show her more of that. I'm going to show him more of that. So this is how we're seeing it.
And it's kind of like when you talking in a group
Mm-hmm.
and you got your phone with you. The next thing you know, what you was talking about. Was
You'll see it.
Pops up.
And that is what I do not like about the AI.
I don't like it.
Yes, Rick.
Whatever you say. Alexa at home, I live by myself.
Yeah.
And so in the evening, I started asking Alexa about the current book I was reading. And Alexa would actually have a conversation with me about the book.
Wow. Wow.
Pretty cool.
Wow. Very cool. So, yeah.
I have a lot of people that follow me on what I'm doing, and when people get comments now,
Mm-hmm.
a summary of basically
Yes.
what people are saying and all the comments comes up, so I don't have to go through the whole feed to look at it. I can see what the main comments are.
Mhm.
That's very helpful.
Right, because the goal of the AI with Facebook in that instance is how to make this as user-friendly as possible, right? How can we create a situation where the person who's looking at Facebook has to do the least amount of work to get the most amount of information? And that's what the purpose of that AI is. So realizing that AI is a daily part of our lives, how does this make you feel? How do you feel about that? I know there's some good things that we mentioned. There's some things, that might not be so great, but what's the general feeling around AI?
I was mad when Alexa woke me up, when I woke up the next morning and said, "You were snoring a lot." You might want to go see a doctor.
Wow, Alexa is all in our business, isn't she? Yes.
How you doing?
Oh, it's so good to see you. I have a big hug for you after this.
Wow. Let me tell
Get
you,
out of here.
I am concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And the reason I'm concerned is because of where all this technology originated.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's so smart
Mm-hmm.
that it can do all of this,
Mm-hmm.
is it also so smart that it can send our secrets over to where it originated from?
It can definitely send secrets. This is why you don't disclose secrets to AI. As much as possible, you have to, and we're going to talk about that because privacy is a concern. And we get comfortable because it's making our life easier, and we start to share things and tell it things that we might not want to tell it. For example, I use ChatGPT a lot. It is a daily part of my life. Every single day I use ChatGPT. But I do not, if I use a prompt and I give a situation, I don't say the names. If it's something for work, I don't say. ChatGPT is always training on our data, right? So whatever you put in ChatGPT is using that information to get better, and somebody else can use that information, and somebody else can access ChatGPT, and the information it has learned, the information it's improving, is also accessible to somebody else, right? So it's not going to say, my name is Adjoa. It's not going to say, hey, Adjoa said this, and this is how Adjoa reacted in this situation. But it's going to take my behaviors, and it's going to use that to train and get better so that when someone else accesses ChatGPT, my behaviors improved, because it's always improving, will be shared with that user. I will be unknown, but the actual situation is something that can be communicated and accessed by other people. So that's something to always realize. You do not want to put state secrets in ChatGPT. You don't even want to put them in WhatsApp. You don't want to use any social media and put your most private, intimate details in those.
And I always wonder, who owns the information that's being collected about you?
It depends.
Well, Is it you?
Not, yes and no, and it
And that's what
depends.
makes you my-
And that's why you have to be very careful, because once you, and let's use ChatGPT because most people are familiar with it, once you put information in ChatGPT, there's a question of whether or not it's your information. And there are lawsuits that we're seeing pop up
Oh, yeah, right.
around that. A lot of copyright issues, a lot of artists have been very concerned with ChatGPT, you know, using data that it's trained on from different artists to combine, you know, to create a new musical, you know, a song, say for example, a song, right? But you've taken styles from everywhere, right? Can I say, no, that's my style? Is it really my style? Now that it's in ChatGPT and ChatGPT is exposed to all millions of different type of styles, it's debatable. So,
And the
yeah.
fact that a lot of these social medias are free,
Mm-hmm.
that's another thing. You're doing that, you're not paying for it, so you're not paying them to keep your information private.
Mm-hmm.
That's why,
Yeah.
what you ever notice, Facebook never did
Mm-hmm.
ask you to pay,
Mm-hmm.
for
Yeah.
to use their services.
Yeah.
And everything, so.
And even paid services, always read the privacy information, because the thing is, most companies are going to let you know how they're using your data. And most people don't ask or read or think about how they're being affected by these different types of technology, and AI in particular. So with that, let's talk about, because we're going to get into sort of the concerns, but let's talk about the promise of AI, right? So because there's a lot of good in AI. There's a lot of good in AI being done. I'll start with, for example, healthcare, right? So I go and get MRIs. My mom is a two-time breast cancer survivor, so I am really serious about getting my MRIs, getting my ultrasounds, making sure that I am keeping up with my checkup. So if anything is there, it can be found. What I learned, and just even talking to doctors, is that a lot of healthcare organizations are starting to use AI, for example, in radiology. And the AI is so much more precise than the human eye. Because, we do our, for example, we have our ultrasound, our MRIs, and then there's a doctor that goes and interprets, that he takes a look at the images, or she takes a look at the images and interprets the data. The AI can interpret that same data with much more preciseness in a much shorter time period. The margin of error with the AI and the human is so distinctive that there is no question about the strong benefits of AI in that example. Healthcare, there are different AI that just makes healthcare more precise. It makes doctors, it frees up their time to focus on maybe more serious issues, some of the smaller issues, they use AI to help diagnose. So we see in healthcare, even treating different illnesses, AI has been extremely helpful in healthcare. Education, how many educators? I know my sister here in the back is a lot of educators, so I am now an educator. I am now an adjunct professor in a master MPA program. So I have now started to think more about AI and how that can help my students. And what AI does, and some of you probably are using it, is that it can personalize learning for students. We know that students have lots of different needs, and a big problem with our community is that we have been overlooked, and our issues have not been addressed, and we have not had the sort of individualized attention that our students might need, right? So AI can help make that possible. Poverty, right? People don't think about this. I went to the White House. I have not been to the White House since January. The previous White House administration had a tech fair where they had all of the cutting edge technology, particularly AI, come together, and we had a chance that they were sort of showcasing their work. And one of the AI was able to locate areas of poverty throughout the U.S. and prescribe ways to eliminate poverty in that area. So it went to not even state, it wasn't just state, it went to county and neighborhoods and found where the need was and suggested, recommended ways to actually alleviate poverty in that area. Hugely important, right? Think of all the time that it takes to go to each community, do all the research, analyze the research, find the people, analyze the research, come back, come up with a prescription. It just saves time and money. And the fact that we don't really have time because people are dying every day, especially now under this administration with all the cuts to all the programs that are being so helpful to our communities, this really does help us find the people, find the need, and allocate the resources, right? Provide the resources effectively. And then lastly, we have climate and environment, right? And there's always other sides to all of these that we'll talk about as well. But just monitoring energy and pollution, right? Finding out how we can creatively build more sustainable communities. So that's another promise of AI. So if you can take a minute, and whoever's interested and willing, if you can share ways, or one way that technology has helped either your family or community, I'd love to hear that. Now think of how broad we've defined AI and how we use it every day.
So I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, please.
Okay, so we talking about Facebook too?
Mm-hmm.
So, I would say, back in the day when people get older or something is wrong and you can't go to church and hear the sermon, you might not be able to go physically and take communion or whatever. So we have so many, and I know people say that people need to come back to church, but some people are not coming back just because they don't want to, and
Right.
that's their excuse. But there's some people that cannot come.
Yeah.
So being able to see your church, and then also being able to visit different churches doing
Right,
all
right, yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing if you use it in the right way.
I agree, 100%. It kind of helps foster like a sense of belonging. That's what it did for me in COVID. I felt very connected, even though I was isolated. So thank you for sharing that. Sir?
I was just gonna say, it's interesting in terms of technology. On December 6, 1941, America was attacked by Japan. Most people in the country didn't know about it.
Oh, yeah.
There were the TVs,
That's right.
and everybody didn't on the radio. So it may have been or more before we learned about what happened.
Yes.
My point being that technology has put us in a place now. You can walk out the door and you see it on the tape somewhere. There she is walking out the door again. It's changed. My concern is what someone mentioned earlier in terms of not only who owns the information that's collected, but who controls the information that's collected. That concerns me. It probably always will. But I do think that it's good.
Yeah.
But just like the Declaration of Independence, it's a very beautiful document to implement
Yeah.
or do whatever they're going to do with it.
That's right. Absolutely. No, it's really good. Very
So
powerful.
that's the privacy statements. Whenever you go to a website and they, for the first time, they want to put cookies on your computer, or they'll say, please read our privacy statement. And there's so much hidden in those privacy statements about what data they can collect from you, what they can do with that data.
Yeah.
And so I would just suggest to you that when you go to a new website and they start asking, and they put the cookies up, you have to be very mindful to click on it and just say only essential cookies.
Yeah.
And that you don't have the right to share my information or utilize my information. So,
And I love that. I love that you brought that up. And it's actually a good point to talk about now, because those privacy notifications are required by law. And when you have people that are not concerned with our privacy, we will start to see less and less of that, right? So, policy it's like the undercurrent in all of this, because without any guardrails, people can do what they want, companies can do what they want. So it's important for us to stay actively engaged and advocate for these things, because no community is going to be harder hit than our communities. We are still very much in a digital divide. You see it with our different ethnic communities, you see it with rural versus urban. We love the fact that we have access to this information, but there are people still today that do not even have the internet, right? So as these advances in AI are going to continue to roll out, we're going to continue seeing a gap. So we have to advocate for each other, advocate for ourselves to make sure that we are having access to it and we're having the best access to it, and we are, our privacy is being respected. Sir, Miss Marilyn, and then I'm going to come to you.
I was thinking during COVID, since someone was talking about COVID technology, we were able to continue to educate our children because they were able to get their education on the internet
Yes.
through Zoom sessions
Mhm.
and things of that nature.
Yeah.
If they had internet access.
Was that if they had, going back to your statement, if those who had internet
Right.
access were able to get it.
And our teachers didn't have it.
Yeah,
Teachers.
that's true. Thank you for that, Miss Marilyn.
I was gonna say, you're absolutely correct in terms of the statement, but in terms of the regular person that's walking around, how many actually read the privacy statement?
Well, that's what we're talking. Yeah, most people don't.
Because I just rented a car to come here, and they showed me the form on the things, okay, initial here, and this is the privacy, blah, 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 initial here.
They don't print it anymore. You read it, you can't read it.
I didn't read the whole thing. Please, occasionally.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
read the whole thing. But
Yeah.
I'm saying that this is a group of learning individuals. And I don't know if anybody is brave enough to admit that they don't always read the privacy statement.
That's like saying yes. All the medical procedures.
Right.
Medical procedures, we all read everything. No, after that, you don't read.
That's true.
But let me explain. As I said, I worked 39 years with one of the biggest corporate law firms in the country. And we represent the corporations, the big guys. There is a reason that all of that, you have a lot of jargon. Because they know people don't want to read this.
That's it.
Okay? Let me tell you.
Right.
There was something I found out when I first started working there about insurance, that we black people really was affected and we didn't know. What happens, you know how our parents used to pay a little dime when the insurance man come by to keep their insurance money, right? And the insurance man would tell them if they didn't have their premium, that your insurance gonna lapse if you don't make
Right.
your payments, right?
Yeah.
Guess what?
No more.
No, there was a clause in there in everybody's insurance policy that they did not know. It was called extended coverage. And what happened is, even I had a person, they died 3 years ago, whatever, their policy was lapsed. when
Oh,
they died.
boy.
What we did, we found out, because you paid that insurance, you don't know that the insurance company is putting that money in an interest-bearing account. They take the interest, and whenever you don't pay, they take the interest and make your payments. And
It
so,
becomes a loan against your policy.
no, it's not a loan. It's your interest. It's money. That's why your policy may have been worth like $5,000, and now if you would pass away, it's worth $8,000 if you kept it paid, because it accumulated interest. And by law, the insurance company has to give it to you.
Right.
So by law, they had to pay off all of these policies when they told us they were lapsed.
Right. Wow.
You can go back and if you go back to your old policy.
And you'll see it in there.
You see any old policies on people that passed away, get their death certificate to see when they passed away. And just write a letter to the insurance company and say, what is the status of this policy? And if they said this policy still in effect for the next 3 years, that's what you get it.
Wow.
For the next 3 years, still in effect, even though it hasn't been paid for 2 years before that.
Right.
These are where we miss out on a lot.
That's so true.
Wealth, our wealth. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, I did it, I know, and like I said, we did it. Our law firm did all of these, the disclosures y'all see, the little fine print. This was our job. We knew you're
That
not
people aren't gonna read it. Right.
And guess what? Most of them are not gonna understand it.
Right. And you know what?
That's what it was about.
And that's a good point, because for me, this is all part of stewardship, right? So we have this AI, we have this technology that has done great things, and it will do greater things. But we have to be stewards, right? We are stewards of God's creation. That is everything that he has created or allowed us to create. And we have to be responsible. Those of us who, like you said, are learned individuals, we have to be responsible and read the information so we can protect ourselves. And we also have to tell folks in our communities, you cannot just ignore this. Because once I do not upload pictures. I have never done one of those AI pictures. There is studying AI, I will tell you, do not do that. Okay? AI now has your facial, all your features. Okay? Once it's out there, it's out there. You cannot call it back to you. Okay? People don't know that. People don't realize that they should not do that. You see all these pictures on social media and it looks cool and exciting. You don't want to do that, right? So this is part of our responsibility to learn what we can learn. And we're not going to know everything. This is rapidly changing. What I'm talking to you about today is going to be different tomorrow, right? Because that's the pace at which this is happening. But the fundamentals, the privacy issues, the biases in AI, those are going to keep happening. That will continue to persist unless we do something about it. And that's the power that we have. And that's the duty that we have and the responsibility as community leaders, as faith leaders, to do on behalf of the people that we're representing. Sir?
I wanted to, it's 2 or 3 little quick points. People need to understand that when we're talking about AI, we're talking about a whole nother development of research and data trolling per se. But you keep in mind, especially for everybody who's given all these things about cookies and everything else, your data is already out there.
The data's out. A lot of it is.
The United States government, every city in this state tells you where you live, how much you paid for taxes, and everything else. I told my aunt the other day, I said, your house is worth $1.5 million. Because I just put her name and her address, and she lives in the District of Columbia. She bought a brownstone for $300,000 25 years ago, and that's valued at $1.5 million. All right? Well, I didn't need AI to get that data. So everybody has to understand this thing. A student of mine was looking for my address. He's a tech person. And I said, all you had to do was go to Google and ask them where I live. And they tell you. And of course it gives them my address. Right. It gives them my name. Right. So that's not even AI.
No.
All right. But I tell you what I did recently. 2 things. I teach. I have my foot in 3 different areas. I'm an educator. I teach at Virginia State University. I'm a musician and artist, and I put albums out. I'm on record labels, and then I'm president of SCLC in Richmond. And in the music facility, we have a new album coming out, and I wanted to do a press release. So I put in all the information about the press release. Understand this is information I want to be public. So it's not like I want to hide this from anyone. I want them to be able to Google or tag all of these different names.
Right.
So I put all the data in and I said, give me a press release. Before I could scroll down, the press release was done in professional format. Well, look, give it to me as a PDF or in a Word doc. Before I could even breathe, I had a downloadable Word doc.
Right.
So, you keep in consideration, you have to take the good with the sweet. The information is already out there. So my third point is, be a positive troll, all right? In other words, if you're going to be out there, put information out there that you want out there. Talk positive things about the things that you're interested in. The important things, so that when it is trolling and searching for the data, this data comes up from your point of view. Because the negative point of view is going to be there. But I have lots of things about saying Donald Trump is a liar on the internet. And I point out things that he's lied about. And I point out Gaza was going to be taken care of on day one. The war in Ukraine was going to be taken care of day one. And I put that out there as positive trolling from my perspective. And that's what I say to everybody. If it's going to be out there, you make sure that you got your foot in that sand too, so that your footprint is represented from a positive perspective of what SCLC is doing and what you're doing also. Because if your voice is not heard through AI and the internet, somebody else is going to look at the negatives and think that's the truth.
That's a good point. It's about how do you, to what extent can you control the narrative, right? Whatever your narrative may be, right? And do that as best as you can, right?
Yes.
I do again, my work is with faith-based advocacy organizations, so we do a lot of work combating Christian nationalism, right? How do we counter that narrative with the Christianity that we know and believe, that respects people's rights, that advocates for the poor, that, all these things. So I definitely agree with that. A lot of what's on the internet is self-reported too, right? So, and some of it we have to report, right? You got to file your taxes. You have to, report certain things, and then that data becomes public information for sure. I will say, still be guarded, right? Because a lot of what I hear people saying is, well, they have our information anyway. We have no privacy, so why does it matter? We don't have a lot of privacy in this country, right? There are trade-offs to be here, right? We don't have a lot. But whatever we can hang on to, let's try to hang on to and not just willingly give some of our information away that we don't have to, right? So I would caution everybody to do that. So we talked about the promise of AI, right? The good things. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We always try to tell the kids that everything they read on the internet is not necessarily
right.
They don't believe that. But I went to the dentist and they're using AI, so the AI looks at your teeth and points out where cavities are. But they're not all true. So if the dentist is not trained, he's going to go buy this AI.
That's right.
And mess up your teeth.
Yep.
Because the AI said you got a cavity there.
100%. And I'm so glad you said that. 100%. AI, and this leads us to our next point about the risks of AI, right? AI hallucinates. Okay? Exactly. It hallucinates. I had to do a report. I had to do a legislative report, and I put the data in there, right? So I just kind of knew which members of Congress were doing what, what the issue was. I put that all in AI, and I'm like, help me create a report. I was up against the clock and I did not read it, right? Because I said, I put all the prompts in, I know what I'm talking about. I'm just kind of saying, here, this is what's going on. I submitted the report, and I didn't read it. I skimmed it because I knew, again, I was dictating what I wanted, right? I wasn't like, AI, come develop this for me. I was saying, this is what's happening in Congress. This member's doing this. He voted, da-da-da. It had one of the members completely wrong. And it went out, and somebody who read it responded, this is not the member that voted this way. And I'm like, oh my gosh, AI just went crazy. I learned a lesson after that. You have to double check, even if it's information that you have created, that you're putting in there, and you just want it to tighten it up. You have to do it because it hallucinates, right. And you don't know when it's going to hallucinate. You don't know how that hallucination is going to look. Yep. And you're going to be responsible for whatever you put out. And if it is a dentist that is trying to identify, the stakes are much higher than me just, putting out something that had the wrong member of Congress listed in there. So I am so glad you said that, right? So that is a huge risk. Also bias, right? Huge issue. When you think of autonomous cars, that are becoming more popular, there's a bias towards language, right? So there are some vehicles that will not understand me as a black woman, okay? My dad is from Ghana, West Africa, right? There are some vehicles that cannot understand my dad because of his accent, right? And it cuts across different ethnic communities. So it's not just black folks, but it's Hispanics, is, Asian Americans. It's, so this is a huge issue. Imagine driving in a car and needing to give commands that is going to save your life, and this car cannot understand you because you are not white. You are not, your tone is different. The way you say things are different. Your actual accent is different. That is a scary thing. That's something that we have to realize. And this is more of an obvious example. Think of the biases in policing, right? So you have police departments using AI. Bias, we say garbage in, garbage out, right? Humans train AI. AI does not, machine learning, we train the AI. So whoever's training the AI, their biases are going into that AI, right? We're not in these spaces. I was one of maybe 3 Black people in this program at Oxford on AI. We are not represented in this space at all. So who's doing the teaching, right? Who's training this AI? How diverse of information, and it's not even, it's gender-based bias as well, right? So these are something that we have to think about. And we talked about the privacy risk, huge privacy risk with AI, right? If you don't want it to get out, whatever that information is, you don't need to put in AI. I don't care if it's Facebook or ChatGPT. Do not put it in AI if you do not want it to come out, right? Or if you feel like that's going to violate your privacy. And then it's unreliable, right? The hallucination. There's something where, for example, with ChatGPT, and it's improved, but there's still a difficulty in it being reliable to where it can say, I used this information to get this result, right? Now, it can look at the web and say, hey, I pulled these links. These are the sites that I went to. But really what's happening on the back end, right? Because it's more than just pulling things from sites, right? Where's all the information? What reasoning? What process is being used for you to come up with this result? AI still can't do that effectively. So we're taking information. The AI doesn't even know. The AI can't even tell us how it got to this end result, but we're using the information, right? So these are huge risks. I think, looking at all of this in a justice-based framework should compel us all, not only to pay attention, but to take action to mitigate these risks. Because again, our communities, the communities we each represent in this room, are going to be the communities that's most affected by all of this. We are not going to benefit at the greatest degree from all the great things that AI can do. We are not, right? We have to fight for that. We have to fight for that technology to go into our schools that's helping students learn that we might not necessarily get otherwise. At the same time, we have to fight for protection and privacy, protecting our communities, right? Because we are the most vulnerable, and we have to be straight up about that, right? So with that, just a couple of Bible verses that support all of this that I'll share with you. Job displacement, right? That is another risk. I think that's probably top of mind when I talk to people. That is the first thing. Well, what's going to happen to my job, right? And every time a profession thinks they're safe, you're like, oh my gosh, no, your job is actually, no. I remember, consultants used to think it was like the safest type of thing. No, AI is coming for that sector too, right? Yes.
So there was I don't know if you all listen to Urban View, but they had a real good conversation on it. This. And they were talking about vocational ed jobs as opposed to coding. They were saying we were sending kids into coding classes years ago, and those coding guys are unemployable now because AI is taking over a lot of the jobs. But guess what they did say? But if you send a kid to school for HVAC, or you send this kid to school for electrical and electronic wiring, those AI farms are not being put in by themselves. HVAC is needed in all of those farms because of the air conditioning needed to keep the service cool, right? So every AI farm is going to have an HVAC or 2 technicians on call 24/7. Because if the air conditioner goes out, the computers overheat and they shut down. So then every last one of those things are wired by technicians, right? And you've got, somebody got to get in there and connect all those servers together. So if you think about that, yeah, the vocational picture is changing. But you also have to realize maybe you want to shift from trying to go to college to be a coding person or go to ECPI for coding and go to a technical school to become an HVAC technician. A 19-year-old was making $80,000 a year because he spent 18 months in an HVAC vocational program after high school. And he's making $80,000.
Yeah. No, that's great.
And then if you add a college degree to that, because I just thought about that, I'm saying, okay, you get out of high school at 18, you're not going in the military. You get out at 18, you spend a year or two in doing vocational ed training, and then you go to college because you're more mature, you're ready, you know the work ethic, you're going to apply yourself. You go to college, you get a bachelor's degree in business as a business major or something like that, and then what do? You become a contractor. You become someone who's a boss because you have the hands-on experience in the technology, and now you have the diploma to make you a boss.
Absolutely, absolutely. And AI, and just a myth too. 100% on that one too. You know, I think it's being creative, right? And how can you? A lot of skills are transferable, right? How are we able to transfer our skill set in a changing workforce, right? So we have to think about this. We have to have these conversations with our folks. Like, okay, how can we be more marketable in a changing, in a technological environment that's rapidly changing, right? AI still has a lot of limitations. Also, we talked about the job to place. Okay, the bias. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is a couple of case studies. So I'm just going to divide you all in groups by tables. So the first two tables is one group, the last two tables, same here on this side. And then you two can just kind of join a group. But I just wanted to talk about a short case study. And I will go around and give you your case. And then at the end, I'd like somebody from your group to just report out. And that's the last thing that we're going to do. And we're going to be done. Just some practical experience actually navigating and thinking through a complex issue, okay? All right, so this group here, or actually what I'll do is I'll read them all. All right, so the first group here, these two tables, your case study is healthcare, okay? And it's helping doctors diagnose faster. And the questions that I'd like you to think about or discuss is, what is the blessing? What is the risk? What Christian principle, love, justice, wisdom, or stewardship should guide this AI? Okay? And then after you're done, you can just share one insight with the room. So that's the first group, the first two tables, healthcare. The second two tables is church outreach with AI, right? We haven't even talked about, that's the one you want? We haven't even talked about that yet. You can move around if you want. Okay, so this is managing volunteers, outreach, and donations, right? How can AI be leveraged? What's the blessing with that? What's the risk? What Christian principles come into play and should guide AI? Is it justice, love, wisdom, or stewardship? And then you'll share one insight, okay? And then here